Hi folks, I'm Sculptor Ian Edwards. Well, I play with plasticine, that's the reality. So where did my career in plasticine start? I was about that big? Maybe not. I don't think I've ever been that small. I was 7 years old in Mrs. Williams' class, still looking for my life's purpose. And we'd do maths and English in the morning, and then making things in the afternoon. And the moment I started, I fell absolutely in love with the creative process. And for me, it was more the state of mind I went into when creating, rather than what I was creating. So, with this, now knowing my life's purpose, I went straight up to Mrs. Williams' desk and said to her, if you don't mind, I really don't like your maths and English, and I'd much rather do the making things all day. You can imagine how that ended. But it also became, at this point, very apparent that I was special. Well, that's what Mrs. Williams told my parents anyway. Quite how special, I didn't realise until I went to my classes, which were called special classes. Yeah, but over the years, I've come to realise everyone's a little bit special, including you guys. But then from there, I left school as soon as I could and went into an old-fashioned apprenticeship in early 16th century to late 18th century ornamental wood carving. It was like I'd gone home. I'd found my tribe, I'd found my people. It was absolutely amazing for me. And it was here I learnt the fundamentals of sculpture. Then, as the time passed, I served my 4-year apprenticeship. Me being me, don't like to take orders from anybody, left as soon as I could and to set up my own studio. And man, was that like hitting the road. It was extreme. To try and make a living from art, I believe, is one of the hardest things. So, as my love for sculpture increased, so did my need to understand a greater understanding of life, the meaning of life. What is this? Who am I? I kept asking these very fundamental questions. As these insights started to come to me, at the same time I would build these insights, I was starting to develop the skill to be able to express and say what I wanted to say through my sculptures. And then what I'd done, as the years passed, I brought the two together, the insights and the sculptures, to create what I call sculptures of meaning. Each piece would depict and symbolize my core insight. I would tell the story of the human endeavor of self-realization and self-expression. And from this, then I created a series of pieces which told the story stage by stage, from the hour of darkness to born of fire to leap of faith. So what I'd like to do now is show you one of my pieces. It's an unveiling. Drum roll. Okay. Thank you. What I do is every time I create a piece, I also write some words which come with it. I say some words because, I don't know, I don't feel it's quite poetry, but apparently it is. Okay, so, the calling. As the calling comes, so the awakening begins, the burning up of the ego within the fire of suffering. Through the suffering, the question comes. The vehicle is complete, the realization begins. Deep nature of the self calls to itself in form. I am, I am, I am. So, for me with this piece, what I was looking to capture was that the figure is screaming out to the universe, looking for some form of self-expression, at the same time as the universe calls to the figure and pulls us by what I call your heart's desires, that which you are most drawn to. I was just chatting with Dan earlier on, who's going to be on the stage. He was telling me that he had the E-Myth under his bed when he was 14 years old. That, for me, is a heart's desires, because you just don't do that stuff unless you really believe in it. And that's what I'm talking about by your heart's desires. I believe that everybody has to find whatever their heart's desires are and then find a way of expressing it in the world. And also, then, I wanted to express here with this piece is that the piece is being driven forward from underneath. And I see that's our basic nature. You have to make a living, you have to do this, you have to do that, at the same time as aligning that with your inspirations. It's connecting those together. Okay, so how do I choose the pose? Insight, from the insight, then I start to have images, because I'm a sculptor, I create images from this, and then I'll actually take the pose myself. Okay. Now what I want everybody to do is to stand up. Everybody stand up. Right. Arms back. Yeah, sorry about that. I'm not much into these pads and paper and all that business. Right, arms back, head back. Take the pose of the calling and see how it feels. Open your chest right up. Okay, and now for it truly to be the calling, you've got to scream out. Who's brave enough to scream? Come on, scream out. Thank you very much for the energy, folks. Sit down. That's brilliant. I love it. Thank you. That was me just amusing myself, to be honest. I wonder if I could get you to do it. The man with the mic has so much power. Yeah, but that literally is how I find it. But then what I'd do is I'd bring models into the studio. The model then would take this pose, and I would work from them to get the anatomy correct, to get the look and the feel correct of the piece, at the same time as working with what's in my mind. Okay. Second unveiling. I'm hoping I'm not going to take the glasses off. There we go. Leap of faith. Thank you very much. So the leap of faith, I have some words with this one too, which I'll read out first. Okay, the leap of faith. In the knowing of your heart's desires, as destiny calls for the expression, a commitment is made in the action, the leap of faith in that which you believe in. So here, I wanted to really express this core nature that doesn't matter how good your inspiration is, if you don't put it into action, if you don't take that leap of faith, nothing happens. And I believe that there is no certainty. So with this piece, what I've seen is with all the greatest adventures, there is no certainty of outcome, but with all great adventurers, they commit themselves to the adventure. And in that commitment, that's where I believe you get your greatest results. When I'm creating these pieces, I work in plasticine or clay, and I'll build up a texture on the outside, and the texture is to symbolize the texture of the outside world, the world of what I call the world of matter. Because for me, there's this strange thing. We're made of matter, and at the same time, the pose symbolizes a state of mind with the inside world and with the outside world. This is crazy. I still look at it and go, really? But this is how it is. And so I want to try and capture that in the piece. And so I put this texture on there, working in the clays, and then from that, a mold is made, and then the pieces go into a limited editions of bronze. And I guess this is where then it comes to the E-Myth side. You have the original creation, but then how do you replicate that? How do you allow that to set up its own business so you can replicate it again and again? And it's through molding the work, casting it into limited editions of bronzes, and then selling it multiple times again and again. But these pieces, the work is very limited. These are in editions of 6, so there's only 6 each of these. Okay. For me, with Michael, I came across him through, I guess in the same way as most of you did. It was the E-Myth, and I was completely lost at that time in doing it. And I think that phrase, if you don't know his work, has to be explained because it could be misunderstood. But it's when you become lost in the business of just working in it and doing the jobs within it rather than working on the business. And my greatest opportunity came when I was able to step back and then look at the business and work on it and develop how the strategy of selling. I met up with Michael on Wednesday. It was absolutely amazing. For me, in the E-Myth, there's an absolute ring of truth which makes that book timeless. And when I met Michael, he had that timelessness with his absolute clarity, which was so impressive. So you're in for a real treat today. I've also been through Michael's new development, which is the Dreaming Room. I went through the whole Dreaming Room, and again, I feel it speaks to the spirit of the entrepreneur, and then with that very practical, systematical approach which Michael has of building a system which works on time, every time, around a really good idea. So I can't speak more highly about that. But for the end of my talk, to sum it all up, find your calling, take the leap of faith. Thank you very much, folks. Thank you.